Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, the founder and host of Blended Podcast, and the founder of the Blended Pledge as well. And I'm super excited for the show today. We've got Tanzil here from Manifest, and he's going to be giving us all the tea as to what you can expect at the show, what's new for this year, the sessions, and what everybody wants to know, the closing party. But before we get to that, we do need to talk a little bit about what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. If you're tuning in, make sure to let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. If you love the conversation, you know we love a good fire emoji as well. So make sure to put those in there as well. So let's get to it. We've got to give a shout out to our show sponsor, and that is the Secret Society of Supply Chain. Head over to secretsocietyofsupplychain.com. Get your free membership today. We've got a very engaged group of supply chain professionals in there, talking things out, asking for advice, and just really hanging out every single day. So head over there, get your free membership. We want to give a shout out to some of our newest members. We've got Lynn Gomez McGee, we've got Colleen Lee, and Nairobi Asprilla. Thank you so much for joining us in our community, and love to see you there. All right, let's get into what is happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. We've got a brand new episode. This is our Woman in Supply Chain series, and it's with Zara Zhang. Now, we talked a lot about her journey and what that looked like, and we talked about her fear of public speaking. She got up as a little girl on stage, and she had to say some lines, and she got paralyzed with fear, but she overcame that, and now she stands on stages globally. She works for Maersk, so go and check that out. It's episode 506, wherever you listen or watch the show. So Spotify, Apple, over on YouTube, go and check that episode out. It's awesome. Now on Friday, and actually for the next couple of Fridays, Eric Johnson is going to be hosting TPM Today. That's right. Usually we do one every other Friday, but in December, we're going to do it every Friday leading up to the holidays, so you can get all of your information in before then. So on Friday, he's going to be talking about the future fuel or false start inside shipping's big bet. So click the attend button, even if you can't attend live, and we will send you the recording. So go check that out. And then on December 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern, OptiLogic is back, and they're here with Accenture Fulfillment. And we're going to be talking about AI-powered data transformation, accelerate models, insights, and action on a LinkedIn Live event. This is going to be hosted by me. It's a free LinkedIn Live event. So go and click the attend button, because you're not going to want to miss this. We're going to be talking about, obviously, AI, which is the big topic these days, but we're going to be talking about data transformation, and not everybody has their data right. So if you don't, you definitely want to be there. So go and check that out. Also, I want to give a shout out for my book. If you haven't got your copy already, go and check it out. It's over on Amazon. It's called I Buried Her in a French Press, a memoir about finding my voice and the power of being heard. We've got 36 5-star reviews, and I want to give a shout out to Keith over on my LinkedIn. He sent me a message this morning. He read the book just recently and sent me some really kind words and a really nice review. So I want to give him a shout out for that. All right. Next, we've got a couple of announcements. Now, we're working on Let's Talk Supply Chain Europe, and we're also working on Let's Talk Supply Chain Asia. So if you haven't gone and check out these pages, go and check them out. We're going to start putting in the news from supply chains within those regions. And then we've got a really cool launch that's going to be happening a little bit later on in 2026. So you don't want to miss that. Go and follow these pages and get up to date on what's happening in supply chain in those regions. Last but not least, because I know we got to bring Tanzil up, I want to announce as well that we have partnered with Supply Chain Brain for the Supply Chain Masters of Innovation Awards, and this is only at Manifest in Vegas. What does that mean? Well, we're going to be giving away 3 awards, and there's going to be a session on Tuesday at 12:30 at Manifest, and we're going to be showcasing the stories of the top 3 winners and what innovation within their supply chains have looked like. And these are some of the top names in retail. So you're not going to want to miss that. Once the app is open, I'm going to ask Tanzil in just a minute when that's going to happen. You want to make sure that you mark that in the app and get ready for it. All right, it's now time to bring up Tanzil finally. I told you it was going to take me about 5 to 6 minutes. I had so much to talk about. Hi, Tanzil.
Well, that was amazing. I love Zaro's story also. Thank you for sharing. Sarah, pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so excited to have you here. Now, for anybody who doesn't know who you are, which I can't fathom there's anybody out there that doesn't know who you are, but tell us who you are, what you do, and a little bit about your company.
Yes, indeed. Hello, I'm Tanzil Uddin. I am SVP of Content and Partnerships for Manifest, which is now a Hive company. Manifest is fast approaching this coming February 9th through the 11th. We're held at the Venetian. Excited to get to talk a little bit more about it.
And the Venetian is such a great venue. I know we started off over at, it was Caesars, right?
It was the Paris, then Caesars Forum.
Paris. Yep. Oh my goodness. Tanzil, you're taking me back because that was the first year and that was during the pandemic and we all had to get tested but you guys pulled it off. That was amazing.
Yeah, we were all wearing masks as well, which is insane to think that was about 5 years ago.
That is so crazy. So yeah, Paris and then Caesars and now the Venetian. And you guys were at the Venetian last year for the first time. And it's such an amazing space. It's very big. But I mean, there's a lot of sponsors. There's a lot of exhibitors. There's a lot of sessions. And it didn't feel too spread out. It felt really good. So glad to be back at the Venetian this year. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about Manifest in just a little bit because we're going to find out what's new. We're going to talk about the closing party, which everybody wants to know about. I mean, let's just be real. But before we do that, we do have to go to our poll. So we ask a question of all of our community every single Wednesday morning, and we share it here live on Thoughts and Coffee. So the question is, what's the most important supply chain trend to watch right now? Now, we had just under 100 votes. 45% of you said agile demand and planning. 41% of you said agentic AI and decisions, and 14% said faster automation and robotics. Tanzil, talk to me about this. You've had a chance to take a look at it. Is it surprising? What surprises you? What else should have been up there?
You know what? I came into this expecting AI to be the leading one. Right. So I did expect to see it, not surprised to see it as a top 2, but I'm actually quite pleasantly surprised to see the agile demand and planning side be the top leader in this case. It's, we are in a fundamentally unpredictable and volatile environment in supply chain. And the more control and the more ahead you can get of your supply chain and the more visibility you can get into it, the better you put yourself in, the better position you put yourself in. So on the same token, it makes sense to see that one leading. Automation is pretty surprising to see it lagging so behind in this poll in particular. But it's I also imagine it's because a lot of your larger shippers have probably automated a lot of their low-hanging fruit, and it's probably not as explosive from an interest level as compared to the other two.
That is a fair point. And actually, Mahmoud agrees with you. And because he put a comment on there and said, while automation and agile planning are foundational, I believe agentic AI and decisions represents the most critical trend. And I think it's whether we like it or not, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about AI. I'm sure you have a bunch of sessions at Manifest. I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you how many about AI, but everybody's talking about it. You can't go a day without talking about it, hearing about it. What does it mean for us? How do we figure this out? What do we need foundationally to be able to really implement AI, and where do we start?
Yeah. No, it's some would argue it's covered almost ad nauseum, but like you mentioned, it is a necessary evil across our agenda. And we value people being able to share how they're actually applying it. So what is tangible? How are we seeing value for this applying AI across our supply chain? Who are we working with? What were some of the pitfalls? What were some of the lessons learned? So the narrative is more towards the how are we getting there versus what are some of the potentials and what are some of the things that we think will happen. We're actually seeing people apply it, which is what we're most excited about when it comes to an event like ours.
Yeah, because we need examples. We need to see what's working for everybody, what's not working. Where do we learn from other people's mistakes? I want to give a shout out to Drew over on my personal LinkedIn. Thanks so much for joining us. He's really excited about our third article, which is going to be about the tariff refunds. But we've got a couple of things to get to before that, and one of those is the market update. Now, Tanzil, you are talking to everybody across the board, right? You're talking to vendors. You're talking to shippers. You are talking to all sorts of people all the time. So spill the tea. What is everybody talking about? What's top of mind? What are they thinking about for 2026? What are some of the biggest questions that they have?
Yes, no. So we kind of alluded to it, but right now what we're seeing is the industry is currently prioritizing driving value in the supply chain. And,
Mm,
as we know, supply chain is no longer just this operations or cost silo. It's now viewed as this driver of growth. And a lot of your leaders are drilling down into the real cost of serving the customer or channel or whatever it is. And this kind of helps them adjust their pricing or sourcing or fulfillment strategies. And so we are in an environment where we accept that things like volatility, whether it be across economic or geopolitical or environmental, it's quite frankly the new normal. So instead of optimizing for minimum cost or max efficiency, we are now designing for flexibility, adaptability, and resilience. And so we're expecting that in our organization as well. We are demanding new capabilities, whether it be across finance, procurement, sustainability, just cross-functional thinking. We
mhm.
are reevaluating our data and AI literacy. We just talked about AI. We are rethinking our supplier relationship management. And those are the things that are, bottom line, is driving growth for us. So those are the levers that we are seeing being prioritized. And again, excited to see all of that unfold in a couple months.
Yeah, well, and kind of across the board. I mean, we're also thinking about, even as a media company like us at Let's Talk Supply Chain, we're thinking of all of those things. What does it mean for us? What does it mean for media? What does it mean for content? How do we make it more easily digestible? And we've got a huge announcement that's actually going to be coming out around the time of Manifest. I can't really say anything right now because we're in the midst of it and working on it. But it's, in relation to what you're talking about and how everybody's sort of thinking about these different technologies, no matter what industry you're in. And actually, the other exciting part of that too is as we've been doing these Masters of Innovation Awards that we're going to be giving away at Manifest, I've been talking to a lot of leaders and they are so excited about the projects, the innovation, the technology that they're bringing into their teams and seeing the results and what it's producing for them. And they are so excited to share it, which I think is really, really important, right? I've had a couple of people say, you know what, this year is not our year. We're just sort of starting the project, but we're going to nominate ourselves for next year because they want to be able to tell these stories. They want to showcase their teams. They're really proud of the work that they're doing. And I think for me, that really tells a story and really aligns with everybody getting together at events like Manifest to talk about these things. What's
Absolutely.
working? What's not working? What are we excited about? And I'm excited to be able to see some of those stories come to life in February with, because I can't really say who are the winners are yet. Because we're just waiting for one more to confirm. But I'm excited for us to be able to roll out who that is. So, anyways, fun times. Fun times. All right, let's get to our first article. Now, the first article that we're talking about is IKEA acquires US logistics tech platform to improve home delivery. Now, when I first took a look at this article, I was sort of like, we're kind of changing things, right? A couple of years ago, it was we want to outsource, outsource, outsource. And now we kind of want to bring things back in because we want to have control over our customer journey and the delivery behind it and the supply chain of putting the products together and then delivering to the customer. And what does that look like? And so having control, at least to IKEA, is something that's really important to them. When you looked at this, what did you think about this? I mean, these are the types of things that and partnerships that kind of happen organically at the event. So I'm sure this isn't surprising to you, but talk to me about what you think.
Yeah, well, first, I really love this move because for a company like IKEA, it just shows that even your large established players are viewing supply chain and logistics tech as a core strategic capability, right? It's
So
not
true.
just a service to outsource. So that's incredible to see. And I think it's important for companies that have huge direct to consumer or omni-channel demand. It's, that conversation of in-house versus outsource, where on the in-house logistics side, especially when you're talking about last mile, it can bring a big competitive advantage for you. And then on a broader level, and tying in with Manifest, this pretty much aligns with some of the broader supply chain transformation themes that we touch on, whether it be automation or AI or real-time visibility. This is quite literally a concrete example of that digital and AI-powered control tower, that last mile orchestration, that customer-centric logistics, delivering value at scale. Like I just said, we're trying to find value, and this is a really great example of that. And like you mentioned, a lot of the partnerships, either some of them are seated at Manifest. Those conversations start at an event like ours. And we always love seeing the ecosystem collaborate and, quite frankly, co-develop. You mentioned control. I would say co-development, control. Those are really big keywords and themes across our industry and ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. You've used the word value a couple of times. What does that mean to the folks that you're talking to? Because I think they mean different things to different people, right? Like Ikea is a retailer. What they're seeing value in right now is controlling that delivery portion, like you said. But when we think about other shippers, or we think about vendors, and we think about the word value, what does that kind of mean to everybody right now?
I would say, like you said, it depends on who you're asking, but for the most part, it's what are we doing that is bringing tangible results? And can we actually pinpoint, let's say for a technology, for example, we've developed a thesis or hypothesis, and we've co-developed with a partner. Where did this deliver value for me, whether it be to the customer at a product level? Like I mentioned, we're evaluating cost literally at a customer or channel level. Where did we optimize for cost there, optimize for efficiency? So it's quite getting visibility into those different areas of the supply chain, and being able to tangibly speak to it. And kind of going back to your awards, I love that we're highlighting some of those projects, because some of those leaders, and we'll share when we can share who they are, we'll speak to some of that, whether we've been in this transformation journey. This is what we did along the way, and this is how we extracted value. So really love that you're doing that. But that is really what we're hearing from those shippers, a lot of those chief supply chain officers that come to a show like ours.
Yeah. We're going to have a Q&A portion. So you want to make sure that you're in the audience for that, so that you can ask the questions around value. But I go back to that word that you used, value, because I want to bring it back, because I think we're using it hand in hand with ROI. Right? Because ROI to a lot of people means revenue. It means money. It means, bottom line, that kind of thing. But there's a lot around ROI that has that value component that you're talking about. Does it save us time? Does it help us with efficiency? Is it helping us optimize? And I think it's really key. It's really important when you're going to shows like this to understand what value, success, and ROI means to you. So that you can align that in the conversations that you're having, and making sure that the people that you're meeting with and aligning with can help you sort of solve for those challenges.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's talk about Manifest. I'm going to pull up the website because this is really the registration page that you want to go to find out more about it. You've got the agenda on there. You've got the speakers on there. We've got the sponsors. We've got the venue, like how to, you've got the different passes up there as well. So talk to us about Manifest. Why should people go? What's new this year? I'd love to know what's new this year and what people can expect.
Yes, one of my favorite subjects. We are fast approaching, February 9th through 11th. I can't believe we're this close to the event, but here we are. We're excited to, what we're promising to deliver is a full ecosystem event, as we, have started out, with our launch at the Paris, and here we are today with the way it's scaled and grew over the years. But the key is that under one roof, there is a huge influx of the innovation and the funding, your presence of your startup CEOs and, your venture capitalists, your investors, your funds, all under one roof, by the hundreds, mixed with your chief supply chain officers, chief procurement officers, supply chain leadership, really from across BCOs, logistics service providers, ports, terminals, rail operators, all of your decision makers, and of course your established companies that are all, again, under one roof, pretty much a melting pot of supply chain, if you may. and discussing these key trends in real time and being able to benchmark with each other, assess new innovations and technologies that are out there in the industry that you otherwise would not have known existed until you came to an event like this. Being able to get a view of the deal flow that is happening. You touched on the investments that are taking place. Well, a lot of it is stemming from an event like Manifest, where you're seeing some of the investments that are happening. You're seeing some of the partnerships that are being struck. We even have a live press page that shares some of the news that was shared at Manifest. So I'm sure yours would be there as well. Excited to see what that is. And yeah, so that's the show itself. We're expecting upwards of 7,200 attendees. And it's, again, a place to where I think I would cap it off by saying it is a place where your LinkedIn connections come to life if you are in supply chain. That's one of my favorite descriptions, of the event that we've heard. And yeah, so excited. And, as you shared the website here, one thing that I'll mention is our agenda will also go live very soon. This Thursday is the announcement, where basically all of the topics, the descriptions, all speakers that are speaking to each topic will be shared publicly. So actually our community can start planning now. They can start building their agenda within an agenda once that goes live, and just mind mapping how they want to tackle this event during the week of.
And when does the app go live? Because I think that's what everybody wants to know. I mean, the app is great to be able to get meetings on the schedule, make sure that you attend the sessions that you want to go to. So when does that come out?
Yeah, the app goes live about 1 month before the show. So early/mid January, everyone gets that email with login details. You get in and you start networking. Great thing is this is when people start setting up their meetings. So to my point of building an agenda within an agenda, you have your sessions all sorted out, and you also have a lot of your meetings all sorted out quite literally a month before the show, and you just have a full packed week ahead. So we're excited for that to happen.
One other question. What is Monday all about? Like, I know the exhibitor hall and the meetings are mostly done Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but you really have a jam-packed agenda on the Monday, which is very different from the sessions that are on Tuesday and Wednesday. So give me a little bit of insight into why somebody would want to make sure that they're there on the Monday.
Yeah, so that's our kickoff day. We primarily center it all around half-day programs or track rooms that are happening during that day, starting at noon, and they are themed. So, for example, we have an entire stage, and to your point earlier about what's new, there's an entire stage dedicated to procurement, and that's going to be happening on the 9th of February, where basically it's your chief procurement officers, your direct sourcing directors, so on and so forth. A lot of your technology platforms, they're taking the stage to talk about what they're seeing from a supply diversification standpoint, nearshoring, onshoring, manufacturing footprint, and just supply chain network design. And so we're excited to introduce that as a new stage. Then you have other theme stages like sustainability and maritime reports, which are pretty much standard at Manifest. Big hits are always crowded every year. And you also have cold chain, which is also another new addition. Cold chain already had a stage this year, but it now has an expanded pavilion at the event, where inside the expo hall, there's a dedicated area just for cold chain technologies and a stage that's going to happen there. So we kick that off during the kickoff on the 9th of February. The reason why folks show up, and I would say majority of our attendees show up that day, is because expo is not open. It's content heavy. You're attending the sessions, so the sessions are really packed, and you also have ample time to take your meetings. So they get in the app, they set their meetings, and a lot of the meetings are happening on the 9th of February. Then, of course, we have our opening party that day too.
Yes. And we cannot go without talking about the closing party. What can everybody expect? Because everybody wants to know what that's all about.
Yes. We announced this a few weeks ago. Tayo Cruz is our performer. So love that. Excited for that. It's on the 11th of February. Always a massive hit. It's a lot of fun. And Tayo, from what I hear, is an incredible performer. So excited to see him live.
I am excited too. Now, just quickly, you do have a lot of shippers that go to Manifest. What's some of the feedback that you get from them as to how they make the most of the event?
Yeah, this one's close to my heart. I work with all the shippers, most of the shippers that come to our show, particularly those that are chief supply chain or chief procurement officers. It's been a big effort across, from myself, the team, to bring them and make them aware of this event and get them to the show. And we've been thankful to first see that uptick in the amount of chief supply chain officers that have been attending. We went from a handful to a dozen to about 60 this year to close to 100 for this coming February. And this is directly because one of the main feedbacks that we get is, you know what, I did not know a lot of these startups existed, and some of them actually they're agile enough for me to try out, for me to work with, co-develop with. So just the sheer presence of the innovation is a really big draw, and I think just a differentiator in general of the event. And then secondly, the peer-to-peer. So as we continue to expand upon the amount of shippers and leadership that are there, like the chief supply chain officers, they're now rubbing shoulders with chief supply chain officers from different verticals, from retail environments, life science environments. So they're getting a mix of both. They're getting a mix of that innovation. I didn't touch on investors, but the live deal flow that's happening, but also peer-to-peer where they're able to benchmark with them. We even have a private forum for your chief supply chain officers while at Manifest. It's called our Leadership Suite, which we launched this year with 60 of them. And we will have it again next year with about 100 of them, like I mentioned. And so those are the two main things I would say. It's the benchmark with peers and just a live access to all the deals and innovation.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Now, before we get to our next article, I want to give a shout out to Larry. John gave us our first fire emoji, so I love that. But also, just to let everybody know, we are hosting a Woman in Supply Chain dinner on the Monday night. If anybody's going to be there, they want to come, please DM me on LinkedIn so that we can get that registration link over to you. Otherwise, I might put that in the comments too. So you might find that. And then I'm going to be on stage. I'm going to be on stage Monday. I'm going to be on stage Tuesday. I'm going to be doing the awards. Plus, we're going to be recording some podcasts on site too. So it's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Let's get to our last article because we've only got a couple of minutes on this, Tanzil, but everybody wants to know. So this article is it was updated October 24th. And I have to say, I did go and check it out a little bit earlier before we started this show just to see if there was an update. But as of one day ago, there is still no update on this. But here's what you need to know. Tariffs have brought in $150 billion since they've been implemented. And that was only this year. But what they're saying is that there could be a decision coming down from the Supreme Court that might give half of that back to importers. That might be up for grabs and you might be able to do a refund. So make sure that you follow this story because they're going to be able to tell you if that is the case, how you're going to be able to get a refund. It's probably not going to be quick because there's going to be a really big number of refunds to process. So pack your patience because it could take a while. Tanzil, some last words. What did you think about this particular article? I know you've got some sessions, I think, on tariffs at Manifest.
We do, and it's funny you said this article was, October. We're, in December, and we're still waiting for that looming decision. But it just shows, how, first of all, how trade policy can suddenly shift entire cost structures, right? And bring on high unpredictability. But at the same time, what I thought about when I read this and saw this is, for those who rely heavily on imports, whether it be a retailer or manufacturing company, it really just highlights, right, the value of flexible supply chain design. So this is why we hear those terms like dual sourcing, safety stocks, nearshoring, supplier diversification. It just highlights the importance of that. But in the immediate term, to your point, I would think, and this is based on my conversations with a lot of the chief supply chain officers currently, I think right now, today, leaders are just needing to audit and gather all documentation possible. Invoices, bills of lading, customs entries, classification papers, whatever it is, because I'm hoping, I'm just saying I'm hoping, that for those entries that have been liquidated, it might be a more smoother process. For that are not liquidated, versus those that are liquidated, because that will likely require a more detailed review process, which will make the documentation.
I am so glad you said that. That is such a great point because I say, pack your patience because it's going to take a while to get the refund, but you have to be prepared to submit the refund request. Yeah. So make sure you got all your paperwork in a row. That is such a great point. And you could do that today in anticipation with all our fingers and toes crossed that this is going to come to fruition.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, Tanzil, I can't wait to see you in February. I won't be seeing you before then, so happy holidays. And I really appreciate everybody for joining us for the show today. And I can't wait to see you all next week. Tanzil, thanks so much again for joining us today.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you for having me.